Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hi, everyone. As you know by now, there's nothing that I think I enjoy the most than a good story of perseverance, of success, of cojones, of just getting it done and not stopping and just being creative and out there and crazy because, I'm kind of loca, but loca is good because that's where the spice of life is. And today I have as a guest Alex Contreras. He is a creator, entrepreneur, works with healthcare and animals, which is that was like the first when I heard your story, Alex, because you are basically healthcare tech, right, for pet care, and that's your
Yeah,
area of expertise, and it's not just now. You've been doing this for a long time, and so you're a subject matter expert in pet health and pet care. And welcome to I Have Something to Say, and I'm dying to hear how you landed where you are, and what got you, what inspired you to get into the healthcare and the pet and healthcare in the pet industry.
definitely. Well, first of all, Sammy, thank you for having me on your show today. And as your title fits, I definitely do have something to say. My story, my journey this far as a veterinarian technician turned entrepreneur is definitely going to resonate with a lot of people, especially for our Hispanic community when, I'm first generation Cuban into this country. And the opportunities that my family gave me by my grandpa early on, coming over here through those tough times really set forward our family tree moving forward. And I'll get right into it. I've always had a passion for animals. I attribute that again to my late grandpa who would sit me in front of the TV. I would watch Animal Planet, the Discovery Channel, Net Geo Wild, anything that was basically animal related, education based. My grandpa would sit me in front of that TV while he sits there and drinks his cafe. And I started to really gravitate towards that. And I kept that same passion for animals as I started to get older. But as I was growing, I also had that kind of entrepreneur mindset. And again, I attribute that to when I was about 6 years old. This was 1992. Hurricane Andrew came through Homestead, devastated our community here, and my brother and I would go out and help our neighbors pick up some of the debris left after the storm. And as a,
Mhm.
just being a good kid, a good neighbor, and some of the neighbors actually started to pay us to do this service that we were honestly doing out of the kindness of our heart. And that's early on when I learned the value of a dollar, and I realized that in this life, sometimes if you want things, you got to go out there and get it. And that gave me even more strong fundamentals because I came from a single family household. My mom struggled with two jobs trying to provide for me and my brother. So whenever we wanted, let's say the latest fashion, or at that time it
Yeah.
was a Sega Genesis PlayStation type
Yeah.
game console, we knew that if we wanted that extra gift, we had to go out there and find the money ourselves. This is
Mhm.
how later on I would go out and mow lawns. I would collect money that way and buy myself those sneakers, buy myself those games, and then tell my mom, look, mom, you didn't have to do these things for my brother and I. We're here to help you. We know you can't afford it because you're putting a roof over our head, but
Mhm.
this is what we're doing. And that kind of multiplied as I got older. Fast forward to I was about 14 or 15. I remember watching a show in particular called Emergency Vets, and it was on Animal Planet. And I remember pointing to the TV and telling my mom, I want to be that person when I grow up. And of course, my mom turned over thinking that I'm pointing to the doctor. I wasn't. I was pointing to that veterinary technician because
Yeah.
the TV show was based on that technician's grind and what that technician was doing. And to this day, I strongly believe that before that dog sees the doctor, it comes through a technician's hand. So we
Mm.
have firsthand touch with that animal. It's a high-paced environment. You get to learn a lot in it, right? So fast forward, I'm getting ready to turn 18. When most kids didn't know what they wanted to do after high school, I already had it cemented in
You
my
were like
mind.
this. You were hyper focused. You.
Yeah, I was hyper focused.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to get into the vet field, and I feel sad for some of my other friends that I grew up with because they lost their passion along the route. And then when they got to that point of, picking which path to go, they were stuck. They didn't know what they wanted to do. But me at 18, I knew I needed to get my hands in the vet field. How can I kick in the door and start this process? And I'll never forget this because this story really catapulted my career moving forward, right? So I'm 18. I get my first job working at an animal hospital here locally, and I started out as a kennel assistant, literally in the back, taking the dogs out, essentially picking up dog poop, caring for the animals, the caring
Mhm.
aspect that goes into this, right? So
Yeah.
I remember at that practice in particular, Sonny, I only lasted 6 months there. And
Mm.
the reason why I only lasted 6 months there after busting my tail for them, I even improved their efficiency on how they would check in, patients, discharge
Mm.
patients. I kind of streamlined the process on how to, take everything out orderly, right? So 6 months into it, manager calls me into the room. I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to get a promotion. I'm going to get bumped up to the treatment area as a vet tech or a
Yeah.
veterinary
No more
assistant.
picking up caca.
Yeah, no more picking up poop. And if you do pick up poop, it's not as much as the kennel
Exactly.
assistant, right? And everybody that
Exactly.
is in the vet field, they
Yeah,
know
I'm
exactly what I'm
messing with
talking
you.
about.
Yes, I'm messing with you.
So
There's nothing
I'm,
wrong with
I'm
that.
there. Yeah, it's true. It's part of
Of
what
loving
makes
on
the
the
story.
animals. It's part of loving
Yes,
on the animals. Yes.
it's
Uh-huh.
part of the territory. You got to deal
Yeah.
with that early on, right?
Yeah.
And I remember getting pulled into that manager's room and I'm thinking, yo, here comes a promotion. I'm going to get bumped up. And the manager tells me, listen, Alex, unfortunately, we have to let you go. And when I heard those words at 18, I was passionate about being in this field, being in this profession. And now I can't move up because I don't qualify for this. I remember in the beginning, I was butthurt, but I sat back and I told myself, that is the last time somebody's going to tell me that I don't qualify for something that I know damn well that I can do
Mm-hmm.
efficiently. And I have the passion to want to be here. So that's when I switched over and I said, you know what? I need to get a little piece of paper that says
Mm-hmm.
that I'm that veterinarian technician, right? So
Mm-hmm.
at that time, we're talking 2004, we really didn't have any type of vocational technical schools for
Yeah.
veterinary assistant like we do now, obviously. And at that time, I was trying to show my independence for my mom. I got my little efficiency. I was showing my mom, like, hey, mom, look, I'm out in the real world now. And I remember when I was butthurt from that job, I told myself, okay, Alex, let's refocus here. How can I go about getting this piece of paper? And at that time, I heard about a program that was online called Penn Foster. And
Mm-hmm.
I remembered that because in all of my years of watching Animal Planet, they would always have a commercial talking about Penn Foster. Penn
Mm-hmm.
Foster offers a diploma as a veterinarian technician, a veterinarian assistant, right? So I reflected back to those times and I told myself, you know what? Let me contact the Penn Foster people and see if I can get that route going, right?
Yeah.
In the meantime, I had to get a job working at a packing factory at night because that's how I was providing for that little efficiency and
Yeah.
striving out on my own. And during the day, I would do the online course, right? So that course was a 12-month course, a 1 year course to be a veterinarian assistant, right? So once I had that little piece of paper, I knew now that I was armed to find veterinarian office that was going to be my forever home. That was my whole thought. The next
Right.
animal hospital that I get my hands in, I'm going to stay there and I'm going to grow with these people, right? So
Yeah.
fast forward 12 months later, I get that little piece of paper. I knock on the door at a veterinarian hospital in Kendall by the name of Town and Country Animal Hospital. And the only reason why I name dropped them is because they truly gave me the opportunity and the career path that I'm on now and the trajectory of where I'm heading, right? So,
So
Tiny Country Animal House,
aplauso.
yeah,
Bravo to them. Yes, absolutely.
yes,
Because
yes,
that's sometimes what we need, right? Is just open a crack of the door. Right?
yeah.
Just open it un poquito, just a little bit. Enough for me to, come in and show you what I have to offer, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And once I blew that door open, again, I started out as
You're
a
like a crack, I'm
veterinarian.
coming.
Yeah,
Warning.
if there was a crack there, I was definitely gonna open that one up, right? So, I remember again, I started as a veterinarian, kennel assistant, right, working in the back, essentially the poop guy again. But the thing that was different this time is that I had that piece of paper. I had the 6 months prior experience. And when my manager saw my fortitude, my tenacity, and my willingness to want to grow in this profession, they called me into a room 3 months after I was only that kennel
Did you
technician.
get nervous the second time? You're like, oh God, here we go again, right? It's like
Yes.
that trauma,
So
the trauma.
yes, so that past trauma, they put me into the room. I'm thinking, okay, Alex, here we go, man. Poker face time. I was just like,
Right.
okay, I'm just gonna take whatever comes. But confidently inside, I knew that
Man,
they saw.
what can go wrong? Like really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But my manager saw that, pulls me into the room, tells Alex, listen, you've shown dramatic change to our operations here as far as the being the kennel assistant. We want to give you the opportunity to be our veterinarian assistant, right? So
Right.
I jumped all over that opportunity, right? Like beans on rice. And
Yeah.
I remember when I got into that treatment room, I remember seeing this as a kid. I knew that I belonged here. It was a struggle in the beginning to get here, but this is where I'm really going to grow. This is where I'm going to flower, right? And
Yeah.
being the veterinarian assistant there, that first year, obviously, I observed all my fellow technicians doing all
Mhm.
their jobs. I was trained properly on how to handle animals, how to care for animals, take care
And
of
that
animals,
and
and it,
that's really important that you mention that, because the opportunity to shadow others, right, that are a little bit more seasoned, there's a lot of value in that, and not a lot of job environments provide that.
yeah.
And so
So
I, yeah,
definitely in the veterinary profession, cross training, where
yeah,
others get the your shadow is the best way to learn and to grow, right? And of
yeah.
course, me shadowing for about a year as a veterinarian assistant through some divine intervention, one of the veterinarian technicians was getting ready to move. A position opened up. They offered me that spot as a technician, and that's where I slid into that opportunity. At 15 years, I've been a veterinary technician. 12 of them has been at that animal hospital in
Wow.
particular. And the
Yeah.
reason for that, Sunni, is that the doctors there really gravitated and really gave me that opportunity to showcase my talents as a technician. I got so proficient at my job that I will even challenge other technicians to see who can place an IV catheter the fastest, the cleanest, and obviously the safest for that patient. And I was
Yeah.
able to outbeat them in that sense, right? And that just gave me more motivation in that veterinarian space. And in that 12 years that I was with them, again, that entrepreneur mindset was always instilled in me. I decided that what else can I do in the animal profession to improve the quality health of these animals? And that's when I went back and I got a certification as a canine massage therapist.
Mm.
Yes, you heard that right. Massaging dogs. And the same health benefits that we have in human medicine is the same benefits we get for animals. A muscle is a muscle, regardless if there's skin or fur on it, right? So
Right, right.
once I got that little
Well, if you talk
certification,
to my husband, he's got fur. So
well, you let me know and I'll go massage him, and
no,
then he'll be like, we need to call that guy back
yeah,
over
my
here.
husband's a furry beast, so he's like in between, yeah, the animal kingdom and anyway, go ahead. I'm
So
sorry. But how
once I got that,
interesting. I didn't know that it massage therapy existed for animals, but you know what? It makes sense, especially after they go through a procedure or something as part of, right? I'm sure that's
yep,
part of it, right?
Yeah, so I got lucky in that once I got that certification, I had a plethora of cases, meaning that
Yeah,
at my job, I was able to see dogs that had hip surgeries, knee
yeah.
surgeries, back surgeries,
Mm-hmm.
typical ailments like arthritis, and I would jump on those cases there at the job. They will refer me cases, and that's when I thought, man, I could really start a service here. And
Yeah.
that's when the idea dawned on me on starting a service called Dogapy. And
Mm-hmm.
the way that Dogapy came to me was I was thinking of dog and I was thinking of therapy, and I just put the two words together and meshed them, Dogapy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I started this service here in Miami, and I started to videotape some of my cases because I started to realize that some of these animals were improving
Yeah.
dramatically, that even the
Yeah.
owners were noticing, and the owners would call me back to see if I could continue providing these services on a weekly basis for their animals, right? And that's then when an anchor here in the Channel 10 by the name of Kristen Cougar found out about me, decided to do a little segment on me on live TV, and I was able to massage your dogs on camera. This was like 2011. And
Yeah.
that's when I thought, oh man, I can still be passionate about my profession, my career, and still have that entrepreneur spirit to do things on the side, that side hustle, right? And that
Yeah.
side hustle is what really led me to start taking the path towards entrepreneurship, but super highly focused in the veterinarian space, right? It's not like I
Mm-hmm.
dedicated 15 years of my career in an animal hospital to then become a construction worker and start a construction business. No, I
Right.
stayed in a profession that I was super dedicated to and passionate about, and innovation was truly just born out of that, right? So
Yeah.
fast forward to 2016, I'm getting ready to turn 30 years old. I see the writing on the wall, meaning that I'm seeing younger, hungrier technicians coming into the game. I never wanted to be viewed as that. Look at this old guy in here. He's just here because he couldn't be a doctor, right? Because
Yeah.
that was never my intention. I knew that early on, Sammy. I knew that I was not going to be the veterinarian. I wasn't going to be the doctor. That wasn't in my
Yeah.
wheelhouse. I was always passionate about being that technician, and I
Mm-hmm.
gravitated towards that, right? So
Yeah.
once I saw that writing on the wall, I thought to myself, okay, Alex, most technicians, veterinary technicians, first of all, there's not too many male
Mm-hmm.
technicians in the veterinarian space to start
Oh,
off with.
really? How
Yeah,
interesting.
no, it's truly dominated by women. And to see a male technician, a Hispanic male technician at that, it's kind of, a unicorn, so to speak.
Yeah.
Uh, and a handsome looking one at that.
Oh,
So
come on.
once
Come on. Of course.
so once I saw that writing on the wall, I told myself, okay, Alex, you can't go any higher than this, meaning that I've already reached the tippy
The
top as being a
plateau. Yeah, you
technician.
reach a plateau. Mm-hmm.
You reach a plateau, you can't grow any further than this unless you're a doctor, right? So once I knew I had that type of mentality that, okay, Alex, I got to get out of here. I've always been an avid watcher of the hit show Shark Tank. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
familiar with it, right?
Uh-huh.
And after binge watching multiple seasons, I came to the conclusion that every person who goes on that show created either a product or a service or a business and something that they've been entrenched in for numerous years, right? Meaning that
Mm-hmm.
they have firsthand knowledge on how to make something better, efficient, safer, and overall just improve things, right? And that's when I sat back and I told myself, what in the veterinarian industry, in the veterinarian profession, can be made better? Not only
Wait,
for
wait,
the patient.
wait. Yeah. Uh-huh. No, you said, coño. What could in the vet, right?
Yeah,
What in the because when we think, that's how we think. We're like,
yeah.
coño, what could I make better? Go ahead. I'm sorry for
That's that
interrupting.
that's exactly the line that my mom would tell me later on. That, ¿Qué carajo? What was
Right,
it?
exactly,
¿Qué es lo que
exacto.
tú
¿Qué
vas a hacer?
carajo
Uh-huh.
is missing in the veterinary space, right? That
Yeah.
I could, yeah,
So
go ahead.
once I had that kick in the butt of thinking
Yeah,
what can be improved, I went to
yeah,
work one day, Sunni, and I went with that mindset.
yeah.
what in here can be improved and made better, right? And I lasered focused on one task that we do every day on a global platform
Mm. Mm-hmm.
is the nail trimming process of
Yes.
animals.
And
We
it's
as
so
tech,
scary. Oh my God, it's so scary.
yeah,
I can't.
so those same fears that you have, believe it
Yes.
or not,
Mm.
we technicians have them as well. I don't care how much of a trained technician you are. I don't care if you
Mm.
got an MBA, a PhD, a master's, a CVT. You can put all the acronyms you want, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when it comes to that nail trimming process, unfortunately, we are going to
Oh,
commit the error of clipping
oh
the
my God.
quick.
Oh
The
yes.
quick is the vein that runs in that dog's nail. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, there's medications to treat that hemorrhaging or that bleeding once that happens, right? And it's
Yeah.
this thing called styptic powder, right?
Mhm.
It's literally a big jar like this of some yellow powder that we have to use for that, right? So this day in particular, I had two light bulb moments, those aha moments that people
Yeah.
speak about.
Yeah.
I truly believe in them since the beginning of this journey that started in 2016, right? Because I lived it, I went through it, and I saw it, right? So I go into work this morning, and a client comes in that she wants to have her dog's nails trimmed, right? It just so happened that that particular morning, the doctor that we're working with, we have to prep everything for him to get ready for surgery. He was really anal about that, meaning that when he walked in the door, he wanted the dog in surgery so he can do what he needs to do and get the day going, right? So client comes in, wants to have the nail trim in the midst of all this. Every technician sighs and like, oh man, we gotta do a nail trim now. So since I was the lead tech that day, I told the technician, okay, go grab Zoe. That was the name of the pet. Bring Zoe to the back. We'll do the nail trim. You know, we do this all the time, every
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
So Zoe comes to the back. Technician does the nail trim and he goes to give Zoe back to the owner. Now, we miss one vital step in that. Remember that when we trim an animal's nails, they're a lot sharper now than they were previously. Just like you and
Mhm.
I, after you cut your nails, you scratch your skin,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
sharp, right? So
Yeah.
Zoe's owner happened to be an older lady with really frail skin. The
Mm.
first thing that every animal does when they go back to greet the owners is to jump on them.
Yeah.
Zoe jumped on the owner, scratches the lady's arm. The lady is bleeding in the exam room. On cue, like Murphy's Law states that when something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Doctor walks in the morning,
Oh.
didn't know what happened prior to that. All he sees is there a client in his room bleeding. So
Right.
he goes into the room, take care of the lady. I come out and I tell my fellow techs, man, we're about to hear a storm right now. Sure
Yeah.
enough, doctor comes out of the room. He asks one simple question. He says, "Did you guys file that dog's nails after you trimmed them?" Everybody was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. Since I was the lead technician that day, I said, "No, Dr. Mordaunt, we did not file that animal's nails." Then the technician who actually did the procedure said, "No, I didn't do it because it was another step." When that technician told that doctor that lame excuse that we didn't do our job, the nail trimming process, efficiently the first time because it was a burden on us to have to grab another tool, that's when I told myself I need to eliminate this excuse so that this incident
Yeah.
never happens to a client, to a patient,
Yeah.
and most importantly as well to that doctor, to hear from his staff telling them that we didn't do it correctly because we had to grab another tool, right? So that's
Right.
when that first light bulb moment came of how can I incorporate a nail file on a nail clipper
Yeah.
for pets? So that's when that
Yeah.
first nugget light bulb came, right? And I put that one to the side and I'm gonna say, yo voy a venir para atrás a esto. Let me
Yeah.
keep
See, see, see. I'm
digging
gonna
here.
come back to this. Yeah. 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 We already
Let me
see.
keep digging now that I know that I
Yeah.
found something to hyper focus on. And in that same day, we had another case where a technician was in the back doing a grooming on an animal that was getting ready to be picked up. And in the veterinary space, us technicians, sometimes we don't like to bother other technicians because we all got our duties that we have to complete. So
Yeah.
this technician was in the back grooming this animal, and she's back there trimming the dog's nails. And unfortunately, she nips the quick. So she forgot to bring the jar of styptic powder with her, right? So she
Mm-hmm.
has to yell to me across the exam room to come bring her this big old jar of styptic powder, right?
Mm.
So I get there with this jar. I have to open it. This stuff sometimes is as solid as a rock in there because remember it's powder, but sometimes when you
Yeah.
open and close so many times, the
Yeah. If it
moisture
has
kind of rocks it
humidity,
up,
yeah,
right?
it
So
dries up a little bit. Yeah.
so I
Mm-hmm.
get to the treatment area. I have to pour the powder on the table. We have to dab our fingers on that powder, get that dog's nail, try to place it on that dog's nail, right? So in the mix of doing all of this, the dog kicks the jar of powder. Powder
Oh
goes
God.
everywhere. I sit back and I thought to myself, this has to change. This is
Yeah.
not, first of all, it's not hygienic at all. When you
Yeah.
see technicians literally licking their fingers to put it on the powder, to get the powder on their finger, to then put
Yeah.
it on that dog's nail and
Yeah.
hope that it holds, right? And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, this has to change. There has to be a better way. That's when I had that super big light bulb moment, and I told myself, I need to get home right now, right? So
Yeah.
finish finish my shift. As soon as I get out of there, I bolt home and I essentially start to draw out what will be the first ever 3-in-1 pet nail trimmer
The
with
Clip Trio. The Clip
the
Trio.
Clip Trio. Well, it didn't have the name yet, and I'll
I
get to the
know, because
name
you
part.
patented that baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll
It's,
get to that
yeah,
part.
I know, but I
So
want to celebrate it now.
yeah, no, it's huge. It's a huge. And when you hear the part about how
Yeah.
everything came together, you're
Yeah.
definitely gonna want to jump out your
That's
chair, right?
awesome.
So
That's awesome. Go ahead.
essentially the first ever 3-in-1 nail clipper with an integrated stainless steel nail file on there, and most importantly, the first ever disposable styptic powdered cartridge that will snap right onto the clipper, virtually making this the only 3-in-1 tool
That
ever
you
to
need.
come out and that you need. This is it when it comes to the nail trimming process on a global scale, right? So cut the animal's nail, file the animal's nail in the event that you make the mistake that, just to let you know, happens at least 60% of the times when we're trimming the dog's nails. And that's only because it's human error. It's only human error. No AI, no robot, no laser beams is ever going to change this. It's just human error that ends in nipping the quick, right? So once I started to sketch that out, learning from everything I learned in Shark Tank, the first thing I thought to myself is that, man, I got to make sure that no one created this, right? So the first
Yeah.
step was to do a patent search. I paid $500 to do an initial patent search. Within 2 weeks, I get a thick booklet about that thick, 50 pages. I go through every single one of them, Sunny. No one came close to what I was about to create, right?
Yeah.
That's then when we all do it. I go to my mom and I said, Mom, listen, yo entiendo que yo tengo una familia. I got my own kids, I have my own mortgage, but I need you to lend me at least $1,000 today because I need to get this ball rolling. I told my mom what I got going on. My mom didn't bat an eye. She looked at me. She said, "Son, listen, I believe in you. I believe in what you're trying to chase. Here's $1,000. I won't pay my mortgage this month. I won't tell the bank. Take these $1,000, do what you need to do, right?" So essentially, I grabbed that $1,000 in 2016. I started the initial patent process. It took 2 years just for my application to reach the patent examiner's desk. Then
Oh my
another two and
goodness.
a half. Yes, these are all things that I knew about. I just didn't know about too much. And this is another thing
Yeah.
that I stress to anybody. If you're going to involve yourself in something, make sure you do your due diligence to the T,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
4.5 years later, and thousands of dollars back and forth between my patent attorneys and the U.S. Patents Office, I finally get awarded two U.S. utility patents on the clipper, the cartridges, and most importantly, a PCT. A PCT is part of the Patent Cooperation Treaty that will give me international protection into 157 markets of my choosing. And that is huge when it comes to this because patents are so powerful when you get them, because remember, that's literally the government saying, hey, what this guy created is so innovative that it
Yeah.
needs to be protected. And
Mm.
in the process from 2016 to now, 3 months after I thought of this, I left my job as a veterinary technician, secured a secured income.
Yeah. Yep.
I took that plunge, I jumped off that cliff, and I told myself, failure is not an option.
Mm.
This thing, I'm going to see it through, even if it takes me to the grave. Literally, that was my mindset. I had
Yeah.
to risk everything to get to this point, Sonny, and I'm glad I did that. And my whole first year, I focused on just the R&D of this product, meaning that
Yeah.
I had this thing engineered to the T, that I know exactly the tension of the spring, the
Yeah.
drop test, the strength test of the clippers, the thinness of the seal, the thickness of the foil. All of that has been engineered my first year leading into this, right? So once I had the idea, once I had the patent process rolling, I needed a name, right? And this is where uh, creativity meets perfect timing, meets the law of attraction, meets all of those things wrapped in one. And I remember I was eating my favorite meal that happened to be called a fajita trio. And we know a fajita trio has three things: the steak, the
The
shrimp,
chicken and
and
the
the chicken,
chicken.
right? And
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm trimming an animal's nail, I'm filing the animal's nail, and I'm providing that hygienic styptic powder. Three things: clipping, and then KlipTrio just came to me, right? And
Yeah.
I initially spelled KlipTrio with a C. It
Yeah.
wasn't till 6 months later when I got to the engineering part of this that one of the people that was working on the CAD drawings misspelled KlipTrio and wrote it with a K. So when I go
Mm.
into to the office that morning, I looked at it and I was like, "Hey, you misspelled that." And he's like, "Oh, you didn't spell it with a K?" And I was like, "You know what? If the universe is telling this gentleman that he saw it with a K, I'm just gonna run with it.
Run
I
with
got the
it.
name
Yeah.
trade. I just got the name trademarked, and I said Clip
Yeah.
Trio with a K. It is, and I
Yeah.
was so passionate about that that I even tattooed the name
Oh
Clip
my
Trio on my
God.
forearm,
Yes, that's all.
because
That's
that's how
dedication, man. Yes.
dedication and commitment. And the
Listen.
reason for that
Yeah.
is that I never wanted to look at myself in the mirror and say, damn, you know what, Alex, you didn't go for it. You got scared. I said, no, I'm going to dive in this thing head first. And if I fail, at least it's going to be failure on my terms, knowing that I exhausted every possible outcome to lead
Yeah.
to this point. And fast forward now to 2021, I'm happy to announce that hopefully I'll be coming to market by January of 2022. I got a lot of veterinary professionals that are looking at this as truly the cornerstone innovation when it comes to the veterinary profession. Because to think that I took something that's been in our faces for decades of how to
Yeah.
trim dogs' nails, and no one seemed to know how to put that in a better, faster, and a hygienic way, and I was able
Yeah.
to bring that to the profession.
The
This is
solution.
truly gonna
Yeah.
move it forward. The solution.
The solution. It's a solution. Absolutely. Yes. There was a need, like a very evident need,
Mm-hmm.
and you use creativity, expertise, trial and error, right? Because you worked in the field, so you know,
Yeah.
right? You know what works, what doesn't, what's needed, and what the effect or the result, not having all your ducks lined up, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
happened with the girl and the owner, right? What can cause. So it was very imminent for you too. There
Yeah.
was a sense of urgency, right? That okay, this can't happen again. And so that day was like a marks,
Yeah.
it's like a mark
It.
on your journey, right? On
Yeah.
your
And
trajectory, because yeah, it kind of set you on this course of finding a solution, and you did, and I
yeah. And
congratulate you. I'm so happy for you, and this is just fantastic. It's and there's so many learnings in this too. It's the whole idea about confidence, right? Feeling confident about something, and having that sense of fear when you're diving into the unknown. Even the entrepreneurship aspect also,
yeah.
but the creative portion of it, just not knowing, just knowing in your heart it can happen, but how the hell am I going to bring this to fruition, right? And then doing due diligence. I think that was so important, that you said, I have to make sure that I do this right from the get go and that I secure my intellectual property, and then to find out that nobody had even
Hmm.
thought anything close of a solution to what you had, created. That's really powerful. And just having the foresight, right, to know that you had to secure that is really important, and it's a lesson. So just sharing your story, there's so many things you can get out of it. The other thing that I think is very powerful too is this notion that you invested the time in research and development. Um, many people are not born, and clearly we weren't, right, with the generational wealth that other communities might have in saying, I'm going to go on sabbatical, or
Yeah,
I'm just gonna focus on this, and I have my family that can take care of me while I do this research and development. So you were literally, working to
yeah,
right, your earnings in that, or your disposable income in that, because you have a family too, and your mom's generosity, our parents.
yeah. My
I
mom,
think
my
that's,
mom
yeah,
truly, my mom truly gave me that opportunity, like I say, because it all truly
yeah,
started with my mom, taking
yeah,
that risk. Because even as dumb as it seems, $1,000 for most people isn't a lot, but when you're coming from the background that I come from, listen, $1,000 is it's a
yeah.
significant
Oh,
amount of
sí, yo
money,
sé. Yes.
and
Uh-huh.
the fact that she just threw that into the wind, to this day, she tells me, "Oye, acuérdate, when you come
Yeah.
up, I don't want to work. Acuérdate." And I'm like, "Don't worry, mom. I'm gonna have you secured. Don't worry." So she was definitely looking at how can I triple up those $1,000 that I lent into my son. But
That's wonderful. And who provided you guidance through this patent process? Was it just yeah, you did your
honestly,
research? Yeah.
I
Mhm.
I did my research. I did my research, and then I was lucky and fortunate enough, and I'll drop some useful information here if anybody's trying to chase that path. Understand, first of all, I did all my due diligence prior. I found out about it because remember, there's two phases to a patent. There's the provisional and the non-provisional. It all takes years in between that. Then you're gonna get rejected. I think there's a statistics out there that says that I think 30 or 40% of all patents get rejected their first time around, and
Mhm.
that translates into thousands of dollars to pay a patent attorney to then respond to those claims to the patents office. And once I kind of grabbed my mind around that and I understood, like, okay, Alex, this is gonna be a couple $1,000s increment little by little. I need to
Yeah.
make sure I find myself a, a reputable, professional patent attorney. And I was fortunate enough, I found a man, and I'll name drop him because he really took this to another level. Paul Novak, he's out in Beverly Hills, California, and I
Mhm.
found him through an online search, and I read up on him. I found out he was all around patent litigation, so I knew that he knew some of the ways to get this
Yeah.
thing done. And truly, if you're gonna take that route, first things first, start the initial patent search and start from there. And then once you get a hold of realizing that, yo, there's really nothing into this, that's when you fully commit yourself to an investment of finding yourself a patent attorney. But most of it was all just due diligence on my end and just
Yeah.
finding the right people. And it's something that I'm learning now. Coming from a 9 to 5 worker bee to an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, it's all about aligning yourself with the right people. And when I
Yes.
mean that, they may come and they may seem like they have your best interest, but
Mhm.
dig a little deeper because unfortunately, sometimes in the business world, they are those snakes. And
Mhm.
coming from the environment that I came from, we can say a little, hood area. I kind
Yeah.
of knew the signs to watch out for, even if they wore suits and ties, straight up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of learn those ropes as I go. I'm still learning. I'm fortunate enough that I got a partner now that I look up to, that he's kind of my mentor, and I
Yeah.
can bounce ideas off of him as I continue on this journey. I'm just so happy that I stuck to it. And the plans that I have, this is the last golden nugget before we got to go here. A lot of the success that I know there's going to come from Clip Trio. I'm giving back to my profession and to the animal world in a sense
Yeah.
that I'll be starting my own 501c called Pet Trio Charity. And part of that, staying in line with the trio, I'm staying true to the three cores that I truly believe in. And the first one is the care aspect to animals. I want to be able to have a slush fund for animal hospitals that have cases where unfortunately the client couldn't pay for those life-saving treatments. I
Yeah.
want to be able to throw them $100, $200 towards that cause because I've seen my fellow technicians all pool our monies together. Sometimes we won't
Hmm.
even get paid for 2 weeks just so we can pay for the treatment for that animal. So I definitely
Yeah.
want to give back in that sense. Another one is the advocacy part. I definitely want to advocate for more technician assistant careers in our public schooling system. A
Yeah.
reason for that, especially here in Miami-Dade County, I think we got 4 or 5. I spoke at 3 of them, and every time I retell my story to these technicians, they kind of look at me like, man, if that guy can do it,
Yeah.
so can I. And that's definitely what I want to give back to that with my story. At the end of the day, I'm just a regular person. I brush my teeth the same way that you do. I put my shoes and socks on the same way. Nothing that I've done or that I plan on doing makes me no different than you. We're all the same, right? And the last one is the care support aspect, the support part to this. I want to be able to sponsor spay and neuter mission trips. I want to be able to help out adoption centers if they need to, renovate their existing shelter programs or if they want to build out new ones. And I truly believe by having these social cause aligned with the success of a Clip Trio, who's gonna not want me to succeed? Because by me succeeding, this profession that I dedicated 15 years of my life to, but they gave me this opportunity. If I'm put in a position that I can give back, I'm gonna so well do it because I see how it benefits the profession overall. And
Yeah.
that's one main reason why a lot of veterinarians now in the industry are pulling towards me to be successful with this because they see the outcome. They see that this guy was a regular technician who found something innovative to make better and is improving the veterinarian medicine and all his social and philanthropy causes is going to benefit the profession. Yeah, we need to bet on this guy right here to win. And
Yeah.
that's my
I think
story.
that's fantastic. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Mhm.
The first one is this clip three trio. Can you use it on other animals too? You knew that one was coming, right?
You can use it on lizards, uh, uh, foxes, rabbits, dogs, cats, birds, anything with a nail that's a companion pet that's already getting their nails trimmed, you
Yeah.
can use it for the clip. You can use them for the clip trio, and that removes this whole having to educate the consumer on it because
Yeah.
people already know how to trim an animal's nail. You already know how to use it. You already know
Yeah.
how to use a nail file, and in the
Yeah.
event that you make the mistake, you already know how to use the styptic powder. So I just put it all in a cohesive, safe, and faster fashion.
Yeah. I want the second question is talk to me about the peanut butter cup.
Yes. Oh man, I'm glad you brought that one up. So whenever it comes to the nail trimming process, animals view it as kind of like a negative aspect to it because the way they were introduced into it, meaning that maybe the owners tried it, nipped the dog's nail, and believe it or not, the dog is going to associate. I remember last time, like, hey man, you trimmed my nails and you hurt me, and they skedaddle away from the nail trimming process, right?
Yeah.
That's when I thought to myself, how can I add that positive reinforcement aspect to my nail clipper? And I removed the powder because one thing, and I need to say this, because I got the patents on it, I can put anything in that cartridge and it'll be protected and no one else can do it. That's why patents are so powerful, right? So
Yeah.
I took the powder out, I put peanut butter, and I will snap it onto the clipper. And over a week's time, I started showing it to my dog China, both at home and in the clinical setting. I started to show her the nail trimmer like this. She'll lick up the peanut butter. Within 2 weeks, whenever I go in the kitchen drawer to pull out those nail clippers, she's automatically associating that with a treat and a reward and lets me do that nail trimming process
Like
effortlessly
this.
and
That's awesome.
like that. And that's what drew in the companies of Fear Free. There's a company called Fear Free, headed by Dr. Marty Becker, and they certify veterinarian clinics how to be fear free. It's an approach on how to, the certain way
Oh,
you handle an animal,
yeah.
the way they vaccinate the animal with treats and inducing things like that. And I told his daughter, Michael Becker, who happens to be an animal behaviorist, I
Mm-hmm.
told her what I did with the KlipTrio. She loved this and said this is something they could totally adopt into the certification programs because it truly is that fear-free way of having an animal be comfortable enough with that nail trimming process because they're constantly being rewarded with it with having the
Mm-hmm.
peanut butter on the actual clipper.
Wow, that's awesome. I wanted to first, I wanted to congratulate you also on something else because a lot of creators and innovators and business owners get stuck sometimes on their brand, and they say no, que ese es el nombre, that's the name, that's, and they resist change. And we do a lot of branding, right, and marketing, and we encounter that a lot, and it's like people become emotionally attached. And for you to notice that someone misspelt it, that it might be a more acceptable way and just run with it, I really commend you and encourage you to continue, right, being nimble like that and
Mm-hmm.
flexible, because sometimes we get caught up in our egos and heads or whatever you want to call it, and it's annoying because then it really stifles your growth. But I also, this is freaking awesome. But I also wanted to ask you about the manufacturing process, because for creators, it's very hard to find, right? A manufacturer that will give you that prototype. And how expensive is it? Well, I guess it depends on what the item is, right? Is
Yeah.
the expense, but I could only imagine that something so unique and that has some engineering attached to
Mm-hmm.
it, right? Must have been quite interesting to find the right
Yeah.
manufacturing
So
partner. Yeah.
yeah, so the first go at this was to find the engineering company, and I found a company here in Miami, and I'll name drop them because that was really what started this ball rolling from a concept on a piece of
Yeah.
paper
From
to actually
ideation, yes.
prototype.
Yeah.
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 So I found a company in Miami by the name of WB Engineering, and I hired them to make out the CAD drawings for this. It was like a $10,000 investment for that, but uh, what that brought essentially was taking my idea from paper to an actual working prototype, and they have all the files that are needed. So when I go to manufacture, for them to put it in a computer basically and do their thing, and then start this process of down to the T. Because remember, a lot of a lot of intricate parts are in this, meaning that if you look on my cartridge, there's a very thin raised area there that has to be the most precision etched part of this, because remember it needs a snap in there fitting, and
Right.
the part of the whole selling point on my clipper is that patented snap fit sound. As soon as you put that thing in, you hear that sound. That gives the user that security of knowing that, man, this thing is not coming out unless I want it to come out. So it gives you
Yeah.
that security, right? So
Yeah.
once I had those engineering drawings and they made my first prototype, which is this one right here that I
Yeah.
plan on hanging on my wall, right? Because this is the one
Yeah.
that I'm holding on to.
Yeah. That's
This is
the
my
baby.
baby,
That's the
right?
baby. That's the baby.
Once I had those engineering drawings and those CAD information, this is where 8 months went into me finding the right manufacturer. And the way that I was able to do that, I read a lot of forums online on how to find a manufacturer, what to look for, where do you want them placed. And I found a company by the name of CPI, that's Global Production International. And
Mhm.
they are a company that I hired for 6 months to find me a manufacturer, and I strategically chose Mexico. And this was
Mhm.
in ending of 2019, heading into 2020. So this was before the pandemic. I
Yeah.
already had that mindset of I'm not going overseas. And the reason why it has nothing to do with politics is just that it takes 38 or 42 days on a container to come from
Mhm.
China to come to the US.
Right.
Versus in Mexico, we have trade agreements with our partners in the South. They're a 2 hour flight from Florida. I speak the language. They have state of the art manufacturing capabilities, and they have access to ports and borders in a 2 day time frame, meaning
Wow.
that if there's any error in the way the product came out, it's only a 2-day turnaround for me to tell them,
Yeah,
hey,
to
listen, this is
remedy
not
it.
what I want.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's very turnkey to remedy it. Yeah, that makes
Turnkey operation, and it's streamlined, meaning that I know exactly where the supply chain is, where I'm getting the materials from, where we're getting the metals from. Everything is all kind of lined up there, and CPI was able to find this manufacturer in Mexico for us. As of right now, we're back and forth in negotiations trying to come up with the right number. So when my capital infusion comes in, hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days,
sense. Oh man, I'm
I
praying for
literally
you.
press
Yes,
a button and the manufacturing process starts. My marketing team starts. Website's going to be revamped. I got a list of veterinarians that are waiting for this, a list of technicians. And we're not only talking in the US, I'm getting messages from technicians in Canada, the UK, South America, obviously here in the United States. So
yeah,
this is a global thing that I'm attacking
yeah.
because nails are being trimmed everywhere. It's not just here in the US,
Every
and
day, every second, all the time.
every day. And a good little use of nugget here that was able to draw in the investors is that this is considered a subscription based model. Meaning, think of it as your ink and printer
Yeah.
concept.
Yep.
When
Exactly.
business people hear that, they automatically start to see this is
Yes. Ongoing.
money
Yes.
revenue generated ongoing. And
Absolutely.
the fact
That's,
that this happens every day, multiple times a day on a
yep.
global scale, we're
Yeah.
talking a significant amount of dreams about to be fulfilled here
Realize.
and
Yes. Realize. Yeah.
realized. That's
Yes.
it right there because I've
Yeah.
seen all these moves play out in 2016 that now when I'm seeing them happening, I'm like, man, I knew this was going to happen. So when those moments come, I have to start learning how to cherish them because it's
Yes.
hard for me to do that because in my mind, I'm like, I already lived this. I
Yeah.
already seen this. But
Yeah.
now to actually, it hasn't really hit me yet. Like, you have utility patents. That's powerful, right? But
That's
day by
huge.
day,
Yes.
day by day, as I look at them, I'm starting to realize like, damn, Alex, you came a long way with this. I could have easily given up when I lost my job when I was 18. I would have
Yes.
been like, the hell with this profession. But I said, no, I belong here. I want to be here, and nobody's gonna tell me that I don't deserve to be here. And that's really what
Yeah.
lit a fire under my butt that led me and changed my career was that trajectory when those people let me go at 6 months. And to
Yeah.
this day, I thank them for that. Not personally, but I do plan on stopping by there one day and giving them maybe 2 boxes of donuts and just telling them, thank you.
That's awesome. Yes, absolutely. And can I tell you something? The biggest legacy that I know that you have a young son
Yeah,
and that you're modeling, right? What
yeah,
it is to not live in fear, what it is to find financial independence, what it is to pursue your passions unapologetically, you
yeah.
know, and what it is just to be a good solid person. You're a good egg, Alex. You are a
Yeah,
good
thank you.
egg.
Thank you. It's been hard to get to this point. It's been
Yeah.
lots of nights of self-doubt. That's one thing
Yes.
that I want to stress to other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs out there and anybody
Mhm.
chasing after something. Listen, man, there's gonna be days out there where you're gonna look at yourself in the mirror and be thinking, what the hell am I thinking? What the hell did I do? Did I literally just leave that job
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah.
And it's in that moment of being scared that I think that's when you hit the pedal even harder. And
Harder. Yeah.
once you get past that fear aspect, and that happened to me with LinkedIn too in the beginning, and I'll tell you, I was hesitant to reach out to people because I was like, these people ain't gonna pay attention to me. But then when I started realizing, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna tell me
Yeah.
no, or they're not gonna
Yeah.
be interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I got over that, I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna just keep
Yeah.
up,
Plugging away.
hey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
plugging away. And
Yeah.
definitely, I'm just so fortunate you gave me this opportunity. I'm
Oh
glad
no,
that I
man. I
reached
am
out.
so honored. I am so proud. I know that we barely know each other, but when I heard what you've done, I'm like, no, this is beyond epic and it's an example, right? to just create, just go for it, right? Just go for it. And find the support you need. In this case, it was your mom, God bless her.
Yeah,
In this case, it was your circle, your immediate circle. I'm so glad that you found a partner and a mentor. Mentorship, that's another thing that is
yeah,
so important, to find someone that you can confide in and can weigh in. And again, I think that the biggest impact is on your family and on the next generation of Contreras, you know
yes.
because you're basically creating a new way, of
Yeah, and
yeah.
I look back now, Sammy. I look at, when my grandpa got here,
Hmm.
because if it wasn't for my grandpa being here, they would have been still stuck in Cuba. My mom would have
Yeah.
never had me here in the States.
Yeah.
So I look at the sacrifices that my grandpa made early on, leaving his family behind, coming to the
Yeah.
United States, then bringing them over here and then expanding the family. And now that I see that I'm in this position now, this is generational change here.
Hmm.
This is
Yes.
what my partners call generational wealth here. So
Yes,
I'm able to
absolutely.
sit there on the back of my grandpa and be like, look, Papi, I know you're not here with us now, but you got us here, and look what your grandson's about to do for our
Yeah.
grandkids, kids. And that's definitely why I want to continue with this, because as little as this may seem as a nail clipper, no, it's the fact that it's innovative to an industry that's been stagnant for
Yeah.
decades. So when something new and fresh and innovative like this comes, it's truly useful. It's gonna be big. Hopefully 2022 is gonna be my breakout year, and I definitely want to come back on and definitely share
Oh.
more stories and insight, because I don't think this is gonna be the end of me being able to tell these stories.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I can't wait. And I would love to invite you to speak at different organizations that we work with. And we're actually working on a big, big entrepreneurship development program. And so we'll talk offline.
Definitely, definitely.
I think you're breath of fresh air, and you're very authentic, and just you stay true, right, to who you are as a person, and I really celebrate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Alex. It's such a joy to talk to
Thank you,
you.
thank you. I appreciate it. One last piece of nugget, and everybody tells me this, my business partners, my friends of the past, my new friends coming. I know that when money comes, people change, but I came from an environment where we didn't have money. So I had those deep roots of knowing that money is not going to change me, because I knew what it took to get here. I know the struggles that other people are getting to get to this point, and I'm no different than nobody else. Like I said, I put my shoes on the same way as you are. What I did is nothing that anybody else can do. It's just about that tenacity and that persistence to chase after it.
Thank you so much. That's great. And we'll talk again soon, okay? This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.